Alrighty, folks. Thanks for joining us here for the After Schrock. I'm going to give everybody a moment to get connected before we get this party started. Make sure the audio is good for everybody, you know, the little important things, so you don't go a half an hour into one of these and realize nobody could hear you the entire time. That's no fun, right? All right. Got it up over here, got it up over here. So today on the program, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened with crypto this week. That's going to be a big conversation because I really want to, even if you're not into crypto, I want you to understand why what happened, because it's a repeating theme that happens with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies over and over and over. And it seems, well, there's a lot of people participating in crypto right now that were not participating in crypto a year ago. And as a result, the tendency to overreact, it might be greater for some people than it is for people that have been around for a while. And I've been around in this for a while, so I want to make sure, sorry, I'm typing a phone number here. I want to make sure that you guys have the benefit of that experience. Because, you know, we've all done this with stocks, right? I'm getting a blip here. I don't know if it's the internet here is blipping in and out or what's going on, but apologize if you're having difficulty watching the show at the moment. And I apologize for troubleshooting it while I'm doing a show here, but it's kind of a one-man band here at the moment, so I'm just going to check and make sure. Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be operating nominally here for me, but I'm getting blinking video. I don't know what's going on there, if it's a Facebook thing or what, but we'll tough through it. Good morning, Ronald. Good to have you. All right. So, cryptocurrency stuff. What happened? Bitcoin went from all-time highs of around $60,000, and it literally crashed to $45,000 or $44,000 at one point on one exchange before finding support and coming back up. Over 300,000 Bitcoin leveraged Bitcoin accounts were completely wiped out, with the largest wipeout being over like $30 million, $27 million, something like that. So what does all this mean? Okay, so cryptocurrencies going into the weekend, we had a whole slew of financial news last week. If you don't watch financial news, you could be forgiven in not knowing a lot of this because it's not like actual news gets reported very well anymore. But basically the Federal Reserve came out late last week and said, oopsie daisy, inflation is not transitory. And I wanted to thank Dr. Ernie Goss, because when we did the show on KFAB like 4 weeks ago, not 4 weeks ago, 4 months ago, when I was doing a fill-in and I had Dr. Goss on, and I asked him, all right, bottom line, is inflation transitory? And he said, no, it's not transitory. And he was right. And now the Fed says he was right after months of saying it was transitory. Oops, mulligan, it's not transitory. Sorry. It's going to be stickier than we expected. Okay, so inflation, the prices aren't going to come back down. That's, anytime you hear a politician say, sometime next year the prices should come back down to normal, not true. Fake news. This is normal now. 14.5 ounces in a bag of chips is normal now. That's the new normal for the same price. That's where we're at. Okay? So, with that news was bad enough, right? Then all of a sudden on Friday we got unemployment numbers that showed workforce participation was up slightly, but we only created a couple 100,000 jobs when we were expected to create like 500,000 jobs, 500,000. So we were missing 300,000 jobs. It just didn't get created. Now, I would argue that the jobs are created, but we're having trouble finding workers to fill the slots. Workers and the politicians are going to say it's a skill mismatch, where the employers want skilled people and they can't find skilled people. Restaurants can't find waitresses, and I know that a good waitress is a wonderful thing to have, and it's not everyone is a good waitress. But it's not a high skill job, right? It's not like, you're building chips at an Intel factory, or you're coding the next Facebook or something. So it's not just high skill jobs. In fact, I would argue it's easier to find high skilled people than it is to find laborers or people at lower skilled positions. computer repair technicians, incredibly difficult to find decent ones. We can find guys that want to become computer repair technicians, and we can find guys that have, I've been doing computers my whole life and I know how to do it, and the way you do it is stupid. We don't want those guys either. So we try to shoot in the middle and find the guys that have experience and are decent human beings and care about people. So yeah, it's tough to find those people right now. So all of a sudden we have a situation where businesses can't get enough workers to produce their products. Okay? Not enough workers to produce the products. The economy, the supply chain kink, whatever you want to blame inflation on, there is too much money chasing too few goods right now in the economy, which is causing the price of those too few goods to go up. That's inflation. Okay? So now we have inflation and we have businesses unable to produce enough goods to meet demand, which is going to cause more inflation, right? So the Fed could ignore inflation when they said it was transitory. It was just going to go away by itself. The prices are going to go back to normal. Everything is going to be just fine. But now that's not the case. Now it's sticky. Well, if inflation is sticky and we're going to see more inflation coming up ahead, all of a sudden that's a big concern because companies in the stock market, the market, it's a market of stocks. These are companies, right, that get earnings, and their earnings are based on margins, like how much profit they can make. And there's a limit to how far you can raise the price and how many ounces you can take out of the bag of chips or how many ounces of Benadryl you can take out of the bottle before people start to notice and start to wonder, like, this is not a good value. And they maybe buy maybe they buy the generic, 8-ounce bottle instead for $1 more for the generic, but they get double the product. Maybe they start doing the math rather than just buying the Benadryl brand Benadryl. So anyway, the problem here is it spooked the market badly. And the market tanked pretty good over the, Thursday, Friday. We had a little rally and then it dumped, and then a little rally and then it dumped. Crypto got scared because what happens in the stock market now, like it or not, Wall Street, people on Wall Street are also into crypto. And when people on Wall Street get stopped out of a position, they have to sell assets in order to cover their losses. So what's the most liquid thing you could possibly sell? Bitcoin. Crypto. Sell it. So they sell their crypto, they get their money, they cover their losses, everything is right. That caused the price of crypto to drop. Well, there are also margin traders in cryptocurrency exclusively. So if the price of crypto goes below this line, you have to cover your bets, basically. You have to pay your losses, which usually requires you to sell your crypto. So, oh no, the price came down. Oh, I got to sell. So I sell all my crypto, and now the line moves down here, and then it causes this one to go down and then down. That's why you see these massive candles where it just goes straight down like a rock in the ocean, just straight down. There was 300,000 leveraged Bitcoin accounts that were completely wiped out. The drop didn't stop until they were all wiped out. Everybody who was leveraged got cleaned out. And now what we have are the holders, the people who buy crypto and just hold it, and we have the traders, the people who trade back and forth. Those are the only people right now. I noticed in my my account at Gate.io, where I get paid fees for providing liquidity to the account. I'm a liquidity miner. When it was dropping like a rock, nobody was trading. Like all of a sudden, I did not get paid anything. There was no fees to get paid from because nobody was trading. Because everybody ran to cash, ran to stablecoin, and stayed there while everything went. And now what's going to happen, guys, is within the next 30 days, we're going to be back close to $60,000 again. That's my prediction. Now, I'm a little worried that Thorstradamus may have his first ever missed prediction here at the end of the year. He predicted Bitcoin at $80,000. He doesn't usually do number predictions like that. He predicted a hard number for Bitcoin, and I'm not sure do we double the value of Bitcoin in the next 3 weeks? That would be pretty phenomenal. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but it would be pretty phenomenal, right? So anyway, Bitcoin is starting to come back up. We were pushing 50,000 when I started the show, up from 45. Not bad for a 12-hour, period of time. If it goes up $5,000 every 12 hours, that'll put it up, Monday morning when the financial shows all come back on the air. That'll put it back up right around, 60? Right near 60. Probably 57 by the time Monday rolls around again. So anyway, that's what happened in crypto. This is not new. This happens all the time. I think it's happened Bitcoin has been dead like 33 times in the last 3 years. Oh, Bitcoin's dead. This is the crash. Told you that wasn't a safe thing to put your money in. The president of El Salvador is tweeting how excited he is to buy 150 Bitcoins at $44,000. What a great steal that is for his country. And he's not wrong. You know, the stuff that El Salvador is doing is going to, of all the least likely places to have change the world of finance, El Salvador. It's crazy what they're doing there. All right, let's jump into questions and see if anybody's got anything they want to ask here. Good morning, Ron. Good morning, Janet. Good to have you. Gail, good to have you. Aaron. Yeah, my video's blippity here too. Made it. Good morning, Schrockville. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning to everyone in Schrockville from Grand Island. Thank you, Mark. Cheryl and Rich are here. Welcome. Keith asks, when I get a pop-up that says my passwords were found in a data list and that I need to change them, where's the list it's checking? I believe it's pawn2own.com. PWN number 2, I'm going to type this in for you, PWN number 2, OWN.com. This link couldn't be shared because this link goes against our community standards. Oh my gosh. PWN number 2, OWN.com. Let's see how smart Facebook is. PWN number 2, OWN space.com. Send. Yep, not very smart. Okay, so there it is. Pawn2own.com. Take the space out, it'll help. But basically, when you go to that website, you can put in your email address or your phone number, and it will tell you if you've been compromised in any darknet databases that have been found online. If it says you have a compromised password, you really need to stop using that password everywhere, because that means that your email address and your password are there in a database somewhere on the darknet, and somebody who buys that database, usually for pennies on the dollar at this point, will just do a brute force attack where they go to, every website, every financial website, every crypto website, and they try your email address and your known password. And if it lets them in, then happy day. And if it doesn't, well, then they tried, whatever. And they'll try millions of them at a time before they stop. All right. Morning, Bill. Good morning, Carolyn. Good to have you back, Roger. Mitch, is CCleaner still okay? Sorry, it popped up the stupid little symbols. To run once in a while? Absolutely. Yeah, CCleaner is a great program. I would not subscribe to it, though. It'll ask you to buy it. There's no need to buy it for the features that you need. There's no need to have continuous protection of temporary files. I mean, clean them up once in a while. Bring them in for a maintenance checkup once every 6 months, and that's fine. So there's no need to pay money for CCleaner, especially because the disk cleanup and the registry cleanup are free. For those not having custard French toast, there are blueberry scones at Hy-Vee. Well, Mark, my wife texted me when I started the After Schrock that the French toast is going in the oven. It takes me about 30 minutes to get home from the studio, depending on how fast I go. So, yeah, I'm talking fast. Video is really blippity. I don't understand why, Aaron. It's the internet stuff. The wire in here still isn't working right. I'll send Scott an email about it. They're not putting too much money into this studio space, if you know what I mean. Can't tell you more than that, but if you know what I mean. Good audio and video. Thank you, Winston. VIX is fun to watch also. Yep, the fear index. That's the thing. People are like, oh, no, everyone's afraid. When people are afraid, that's when you make money. The trick about investing, especially in cryptos, is to not be afraid when everyone is afraid, and to not be overexcited when if everyone's like, it's going to go up forever, like that. I literally hear people on financial shows saying, yeah, the Fed news is bad, and the inflation news is bad, and all this other news is bad, but there's $14 trillion on the sideline, and that wall of money is going to wash over the market. They're probably right. It probably will wash over the market after it drops 30%, just like what's going to happen to Bitcoin now. In fact, where is Bitcoin right now? Let's just see. Since we went on the air, it was right under 50,000 when we went on the air. And as of right now, let's see if it's moved at all. Coinbase has it at 49,100 still. So it's pretty much stagnant this morning. But it's up 2.9% overnight. So it's already starting that climb back up. People are buying at this lower price because they know it's going to go back up. All right, doesn't two-factor authentication stop the problem with password hacks? It does, Janine, if you turn it on. A lot of people don't bother turning it on. All right, Paul, we are looking to greatly upgrade our church technology, new computers, sound, streaming. Do you provide consulting and suggestions? You're in Lincoln? Yes, actually. I'm going to give you a name and a phone number of who you need to talk to about this in Lincoln to help you out specifically. His name is Eli, and his phone number is 402-423-9595. He is the corporate services contact. So he does this exact thing. He will come out to the church. He will look at your setup, look at what you need, make recommendations that fit with the product line so you're not spending more money than you need to spend or buying equipment that's not rated for what you want to do. And then he's there also afterwards as a support mechanism for you to contact. In fact, you might even consider throwing a corporate service agreement on top of it because inevitably, when a new system, if we're replacing everything, there's going to be a couple service calls, and the corporate service agreement is a great way to save money on that because you get flat rate IT support for like $275 per computer per year. Per year. So it's a pretty sweet deal. So I would definitely recommend looking into that in the corporate services division there as well. So where is KFAB moving to? I didn't say anything about KFAB moving. Nope. Didn't say anything about it. I don't know that they're actually moving, guys. I just know that their lease is up for renewal on the building. So I don't have any inside information that you don't have. But I just know they have a really old building that has carpet on the wall, literally like carpet on the wall that used to be like light tan, now is more gray. Yeah, gray is not good. And I don't know if the camera's even pointed right now because like see that wall right there? There's like gray and yeah, they added wires on the outside of the wall. It's just, I don't know. All right, there we're a little high here. Let's bring it down a little bit. All right, there we go. Sorry, there's like a 15, 20-second delay from when I move the camera to when I get to see what it looks like. In fact, no, there's not. I can just look at my, I have the control room. I can just look at the control room maybe. Like, yeah, there we go. We're fine now. All right, good morning from Seattle. Good morning, Bob. Good morning. Appreciate that. Oh, let's see here. Seattle, that's a long way off. All right, Paul. Paul says we're looking. Okay, we tried that one. Ron, where's KFAB moving? We got that one. Sorry, every time I make a comment, it like jumps me back to the top. The building used to be a furniture store. This building used to be a furniture store. Wow, I had no idea. I don't know what they're going to. I mean, this is a big building. The problem is like it makes sense that they would be looking because unless they're going to lower the rent dramatically, because they don't. No one's in the building anymore. Like the sales staff doesn't come to work anymore because since COVID, they all work from home. You have air talent in the building, so you've got like what 5, 6 radio stations. You need a couple production studios, maybe some offices. I mean, you don't need 9,000 square feet for that. I think you could get away with maybe 4,000 square feet and be just fine. So from a company perspective, if you have a lease up for renewal and you're going to want to renew it for a decade, it makes a lot of sense to renew into something that is going to work. But it's also a radio station, and if you've ever unplugged everything under your desk and then tried to put it all back together after you moved everything to clean and put it all back, and something doesn't work right, multiply that to the nth power for a radio station because, yeah, stuff never works right the first time you plug it back in. It's crazy weird. All right, let me see if there's anything else. Something that dovetails with the show that we did today. Watch out. A lot of people think if your data is encrypted, you don't have to worry about security. You don't have to worry about people stealing it because even if they steal it, it's encrypted, right? The problem is quantum computing is theorized to be able to crack pretty much any modern encryption in seconds. So in the future, what they're saying is we could end up with computers so fast that modern encryption is rendered obsolete. It's not the first time that's happened. The first secure socket layers are now obsolete because of encryption, because computers have gotten fast enough to crack the encryption. So this security firm is warning people who have encrypted data to make sure you also take proper security measures to secure that data, because this would be if you have BitLocker turned on, for example, because China is right now stealing encrypted data that they can't read right now, and they're just storing it. And they're waiting for the day they have a supercomputer powerful enough to decrypt the data. And then they'll be able to go back and look at all the encrypted data that they've been able to steal over time. So if you are somebody who uses encryption to protect your technology, make sure you also use Sophos antivirus. Sophos is literally the best thing out there, guys. Use it on your phones. Use it on your computers. Everything is linked now. My Samsung account wants to link with my OneDrive folder from Microsoft. which would link my phone to my computer. So if you compromise my phone, you've compromised my computer. If you compromise my computer, you've compromised my phone. So it's important, everything is so interconnected now. The reason they used to call it semantic endpoint is what we used to sell, because you had to protect every endpoint on the network, because an endpoint is also an entrance point to the network. Sophos is the same way. If you protect about half your network with AI stuff, it's going to stop a lot of bad things from happening. But if you have a shared resource like a OneDrive or a Dropbox or something like that, it's going to get encrypted. And there's nothing that anything can do about it, because it's an authorized connection from an authorized device. And so it's going to get allowed, and it's going to get encrypted, which is why you need to make sure you've got Sophos on your mobile devices, including your tablets and your smartphones. Make sure it's on your laptop and your desktop. If you have a business, you have to make sure it's on every computer, including the server, just to make sure that everything is protected so that nothing gets through and does a number on your stuff. In fact, the other day, after my laptop died, my studio laptop died. I think I told you that story. Hard drive pooped out. When that happened, that's why the screen behind me looks kind of green. I haven't really gotten the green screen settings exactly like I had them before, because I haven't looked at them in 2 years. Well, shoot. So the Data Recovery Lab is working on recovering my drive right now so I can get my green screen settings back. So when you own the lab, it's kind of nice. But when you don't own a lab, I doubt you would spend $1,500 to get your green screen settings back. You just kind of monkey with it until you figured it out, right? So the challenge that we have here is, what's the best way to protect yourself if something like that happened? Because if something like that happened on my main computer, I do have a file history backup. So my files would be safe. But file history backup is not going to help me with my green screen settings or my auto save things, email addresses that I've typed in that I haven't actually saved as a contact, but I've emailed them once before. So now I can email them by just typing the first 2 letters of the name, hitting tab, and then going. That all goes away when you have to reinstall Outlook from scratch. So I was like, you know what? I just have a 2 terabyte external drive over here. I'm going to take an image of my computer. Just in case that would ever happen to my home computer, at least I have an image that I can start the recovery from. And then I can recover all my documents from the backup drive. And that'll be great. So make sure you have a backup, guys. Make sure that you have proper security on your equipment. It's more important because it's not always hackers and stuff. Sometimes it's just life that gets you. This week, the day before Thanksgiving, dishwasher dies, right? You got to be kidding me. Hand washing Thanksgiving. Love that. Get the family chain going, right? So we got that done. Yesterday, we threw a big blanket in the washing machine, and we get a leak warning from the washing machine. So we don't know if it actually had a leak, if it's a bad sensor, or if it was just because we put a really, really big blanket in there. Maybe it's some water slopped around someplace it shouldn't have because it was really full. We just don't know. But we know we've had the washer for like 10 years, and we know it's rusting on the inside pretty badly, and we know it's soiled with soap and stuff to the point where we literally have tried to clean it, and it won't come any cleaner than we have it. Maybe it's time for a replacement. Adjust this down a little bit. Maybe it's time for a replacement. Great. I'm not even going to say anything about the kitchen-based cooling device that keeps food fresh, because the second I say something about that one, it's going to poop out too. So we're just not going to talk about that one. All right, last call for questions, guys. Let's see here. I thought they just rewired the studio back when Chris Baker was still employed. I thought there was a day he was having to relearn something. Oh, they put a new board in there, and so the soundboard they had in the studio was literally like the original soundboard from 1956. It was old. So they have a new modern soundboard, and things got moved around, different knobs and buttons, and that's what he was having to relearn. Do you consider any of the following representatives and senators of Nebraska to be rhinos? Bacon, Fortenberry, Adrian Smith, Deb Fisher, Ben Sass. Okay, so here's the challenge that I have. Politicians be politicking, right? So Don Bacon says 77% of Nebraskans in my district want the infrastructure bill. So he passed it. Does that make him a rhino? Because he represented the will of 77% of his constituents. You know, if it was 77% of his constituents that said not to support it, and he did anyway, that everybody would be up in arms about it. So I think Don Bacon was just doing good politics here, guys. The infrastructure bill did have good things in it. It also had some stuff in it like the autonomous vehicle stopping devices that I just heard about. That's kind of what the heck is that doing in there? I get it. You want to stop drunk driving. I understand that. It detects somehow detects if you're impaired and stops the vehicle if you are. Those are mandatory in all vehicles after a certain date. Technology doesn't even exist yet. It's going to have to be developed. But it's legislated. So I don't know. Do I consider them to be rhinos or anything? I don't have any problems with Bacon. I don't have any problems with Deb Fisher. Ben Sass, he was incredibly rude to my wife, actually. Incredibly rude in a comment on social media. Suggested that she needed to go back to school to get an education so she could learn how the government works. She's a college-educated woman and voted for Ben Sass. And her network of female friends are also not too happy with Ben Sass. Ben Sass is incredibly good at history lessons. I'm not so sure that's translating to his politicking. I don't know if there's a bubble there or what's going on. But anyway, this is all politics, guys. Whether they're rhinos or not, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But I had said the only one of those listed that I haven't been following Adrian Smith's career enough to know whether or not he, his voting record. But the only reason I'm singling out Ben Sass is because he was very rude to my wife. So I don't know if that makes him a rhino, but he was rude to my wife. And no, you don't be rude to Thor's wife. The lovely Kimberly doesn't take well to that. All righty, let's see. Well, Aaron, if 77% of his constituents are rhinos, then he was elected by rhinos to be a rhino. What's wrong with that? I mean, look at AOC's constituents, right? They're 90% socialists, right? So they elect AOC. People elect people that they believe are going to represent their will. We're always going to... I'm really hesitant to throw people away because they're not perfect. Because if you're perfect in politics, you're either perfectly crazy or you don't get anything done. And when I say anything done, I mean good things too. Like, wouldn't it be great if we had a president that came in and got rid of, 5 regulations for every 1 new regulation that was created? Wouldn't that be awesome? That's getting something done. Well, if you're, that one regulation you had to create, you're not perfect. So I always hesitate a little bit for jumping on people for being rhinos for an infrastructure bill that would have been passed any year going back in time, especially when the writing was on the wall that the Democrats were going to stop the reconciliation bill themselves. So there was no need to sacrifice Republican political capital to stop something that the Democrats were going to stop themselves. The infrastructure bill had a lot of pork in it. What bill doesn't have pork in it that comes out? They didn't shut the government down. Why? Because the media always blames Republicans when they shut the government down. So Republicans don't like to shut the government down. Right or wrong, the government doesn't actually shut down. Little secret, never shuts down. After they start it up again, everybody who works for the government gets all their back pay. And then they still get paid overtime to finish the work that was not done during the shutdown. So it never gets shut down. All right, I'm going to go get my French toast, guys. Thanks for joining us for the After Schrock. I appreciate you being here. Next week, Sunday morning at 7, the show airs on 1110 KFAB in Omaha. You can always listen locally. You can listen online here on Facebook, and we do post all the video for the radio show and the After Schrock to SchrockInnovations.com. Just click on the radio show tab. We'll see you all again next week.